Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. The techniques used to make this picture are easy to implement with the minimum of equipment. And once mastered, this technique can be used on virtually any subject with reliable, repeatable results. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so starting with the camera then, I'm using this full-frame digital SLR with a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of it and a flash sync trigger on the top. This is also capable of controlling the energy in the flashes. Right, so I'll pop that on the top of this tripod, like so. Now the tripod that I'm using has a geared center column and a geared head, which will make it a lot easier to actually just compose the image. Right, so the next thing would be the subject, and for the subject I'm using this iridescent glass. This has the ability to produce all sorts of different colours dependent upon how it's lit due to its surface qualities. So what I'm going to do, just place this on this table here. I've previously placed a piece of black cloth here just to help control the reflections. We don't really want all the reflections going everywhere. Okay, so with all that in place, the next thing to do will be just to turn the camera on and we'll do a test exposure. I'll turn that on and the software has recognized the camera. You can see here we have all the settings that are on the camera. So at the moment it's set to 1/250th of a second at f8 at 100 ISO. Now it's always worth just trying that without any studio flash, just to make sure that you're actually not getting an image. So I'll just do that. And there we go. We can see from that we've got no flash, and that means no picture, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so just to compose that, what I'm going to do is look through the viewfinder. Now I'll start by just focusing that up, so about there. And I think initially I'll just zoom that in to about 50mm. There we go. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to need is some illumination. So here we are. This is a Profoto D2 with a 2-foot by 2-foot softbox on the front of it. What I'm going to do is just place this behind the subject just about here somewhere, like this. Now the idea of this is that the softbox is about the same height as the table that the subject is resting on and completely in line with the camera. Right, so with that set, I'll just turn that on. And we'll turn the flash trigger on. And just make sure everything's talking to each other. I'll just test it. There we go. Right, so with an arbitrary energy level just set on the softbox, what we'll do is just capture an image and see what we get. Okay, so you can see from this that basically we're getting a big white box. If I just turn on the exposure warning, you can see that the whole thing is overexposed. Now you may remember that in the original image the background was actually black, and I'm going to produce that with the aid of this piece of offcut of card. And all I'm going to do with the card is just place it directly behind the glass, like that, actually leaning on the glass. Okay, so with that in place, I'll just make sure that's all set up in the camera. Just needs the focus adjusting ever so slightly, I think. With that done, we'll just grab another image. Okay, so in here we have a black background. We're starting to pick out the glass, but it's not very good. So in order to improve things, what I'm going to do is move the whole of this as far back as I can. So I'm going to take it right to the very back, so it's right up against the softbox, or as close to the softbox as I can get it. Something like that. Now obviously, having moved that, I'm going to have to just refocus it again. So I'll just do that just quickly, like so. And I'll grab that again. And now you can see we're starting to get the iridescent effect inside the glass. But we're also getting a lot of flare from all this white surround. So in order to stop that, what I'm going to do is use this piece of card, which I've just clamped to a piece of wood, to flag off the bits of the softbox that we don't need. So I'll just place this on the table, about here somewhere, and just looking through the viewfinder, I'll just move that into position until it's covering up the softbox. Then with another one on the other side, I'll just do exactly the same thing for the other side. Like that. Right, so now with those in place, we'll grab another image. And now the whole thing is starting to come together. I think the composition could be a little better. So what I'm going to do is just reframe that a bit. So again, just looking through the viewfinder, what I'm going to do first, I think, is just wind the center column up to about there, and then just point the camera down, something like that. And I think I'll zoom that in all the way to 70mm. There we are. Make sure that's focused. Good. Okay, so now we'll just grab another image. And we'll see what that's like. Yes, that's coming along very nicely, I think. I think maybe the exposure needs to be adjusted ever so slightly. So what I'm going to do is just add half a stop, I think, to the exposure at the back there, like so, and grab that again. Yes, I think that's better. If I go to the previous image, this is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. Okay, and that's basically it. For actually capturing the image, that's all you need to do. So just to recap, what I've got, softbox at the back here, then a piece of card which is just leaning up against the back of the glass. I have two flags to get rid of the flare from the rest of this softbox. We've set the camera up properly and we've captured a reasonable image. So the next thing to do is to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. So here we are in Photoshop, and I've opened the file that we captured earlier. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make a duplicate of that. So I'm just going to go onto the layer here, and I'm just going to right click that, go down to duplicate layer, and ask for a new document. And I'm going to call that glass. This way I'm not editing the camera original, and I've got a new file up here called glass, which I can edit at will. Okay, so with that done, the first thing I'm going to do is just check the background here just to make sure that it is actually black. So I'm just going to go up to Info here, and these little numbers will appear as I move the cursor across the picture. So when it's in here, for instance, you can see that they aren't 0, so that isn't actually black. So in order to address that, what I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer. So I'll go to Adjustments, and I'm going to add a Levels adjustment layer, and I'm going to reset the black point. So with this icon here, which is the Set Black Point icon, I'll just click on that. And now wherever I put the cursor, that will be black. So as I move up here, for instance, we've got a number 4, 5, and now it's 0. So and that has reset the black point at that particular position. So I'll just go around and just make sure that everything else is 0 or thereabouts, which I think it is. Good. So that's done. Excellent. So the next thing I want to do is just address these marks which were left by the flags that we put in. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is add a new layer. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here, click on the little icon, which brings up a new layer here. And I'm literally just going to paint this layer with black. So making sure that black is the foreground colour, like that. Go and find myself a paintbrush. I'm going to make that a little bigger and quite a lot softer. Maybe a bit bigger still. There we go. And I'm literally just going to paint down the edge, like so. There we go. I'll take that right down to the bottom for the time being. And a quick way to do this is just to click at the top there where I want it to start, and holding down the Shift key on the keyboard, I'll just click on the bottom, like that. And that'll just draw a straight line in between the two. Right, now there is just this bit at the bottom where we've got the base, what the glass was actually standing on. So I'm just going to carefully go around that. So I'll zoom in a bit. And just with the paintbrush again, but this time I'm going to make it quite a lot harder. A bit smaller, there we go. And I'm just going to very quickly go around the edge. I mean, you could take a bit more time on this, but you get the idea. There, so with that done, I could just zoom out. Okay, and it just remains to pick a crop. So I'm just going to pick a ratio of a square ratio for this particular picture. And I just want to just make sure that the glass is standing straight upright. So I'm just going to use the straighten command. So just place the cursor in the center at the top there and draw a line right down to the bottom of the glass like that. There we are. So that's just squared that up for me, which is quite nice. I'll just bring the edges in ever so slightly. Something like that. I'll just move it over. Just make it a little more arty. There we go. And there we have it. So this has formed a very simple image, but a very effective one, I think. And the techniques involved can be transferred to all sorts of different types of shiny glass objects. And I think that's turned out quite well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.